You walk through the world looking ordinary. Your steps are deliberate but unremarkable. Your words are familiar, conversational, mundane. On the surface, you blend seamlessly with everyone around you. People see a human figure who talks, moves, and reacts just like anyone else. Nothing about you draws attention intentionally. But beneath that exterior runs a subtle signal, almost imperceptible to casual observation. It isn't about what you say, the clothes you wear, or the gestures you make. It's something far deeper. It emerges when nobody is watching. It represents the alignment of your inner world with the outer expression of your life. This invisible thread ties together who you are in private and who you appear to be in public. Most people never notice it because they are busy reacting to appearances, taking things at face value. They respond to performance, to the carefully curated version of reality that everyone shows to survive. But there are moments, fleeting, almost invisible, when others sense a different vibration emanating from you. A kind of presence that doesn't demand attention yet commands it nonetheless. This quality is subtle yet undeniable. It isn't flashy or performative, and it absolutely cannot be fake. It operates as a frequency, a resonance that comes from integration, from being whole in a way that most people have never experienced. It doesn't emerge from studying ancient texts or copying what others do. It emerges naturally from living a life that is honest, disciplined, and committed to reality as it actually is. This hidden resonance is produced by consistency between thought and action, by the quiet, almost invisible work of aligning your values with your daily choices. When someone has achieved this kind of coherence, it functions like a light in a room that people cannot ignore. They feel it before they understand it. Conversations pause when you enter. Glances linger. Unspoken truths hang in the air. And it is precisely this hidden resonance that unsettles some people, not because it is threatening in the traditional sense, but because it exposes them to themselves. Your presence acts like a mirror, reflecting their inconsistency, weakness, and denial back onto them. They feel the weight of your reality, even when it is silent, even when it is subtle. You look human. You speak human words, move in human rhythms, and follow human conventions. But beneath the surface, something ancient stirs, a frequency born of order, clarity, and integration. And the world responds to it even when it cannot name it, because it recognizes truth before the intellect can even frame it. What happens when someone first begins to sense this frequency in another person? The answer might change everything you thought you knew about influence and presence. When people talk about frequency, most imagine something mystical, some abstract energy floating in the air, a secret vibration that only the enlightened can perceive. But the truth is far more grounded than that. Frequency in this context has nothing to do with magic, mysterious vibrations, or secret powers. It is about alignment. It represents the harmony between what you think, what you feel, and what you do. It is the signal you emit when your internal world matches your external actions, when your behavior, words, and intentions all tell the same story. Most people live fragmented lives. They act in ways that contradict their beliefs, speak words that hide their thoughts, or present faces that mask their reality. On the surface, everything seems normal, even functional, but underneath exists tension, hesitation, subtle inconsistencies that are sensed immediately, even if not consciously recognized. People pick up on that dissonance faster than they pick up on what is being said. The incoherence, the internal conflict, it leaks out in micro-expressions, the tone of voice, the rhythm of movement, and the weight someone carries in a room. Frequency is coherence made visible. It is a measure of integration. This quality comes from a life where thought, emotion, and action are aligned, where promises made to oneself are kept, where responsibilities are faced directly rather than avoided. It is rare because life is complicated. Most people are distracted, burdened by unresolved conflicts, influenced by external validation, or trapped in denial. Alignment is hard because it requires sustained effort, introspection, and honesty that cannot be outsourced or faked. There are no shortcuts. There are no cheat codes. The only path forward is through consistent, honest effort over time. The effect of this coherence is immediate and undeniable. People sense it long before they can articulate it. When someone is fully integrated, their presence has a gravity of its own. It stabilizes environments, influences interactions, and shapes social dynamics without a single word being said. This signal communicates integrity. It resonates authenticity faster than speech ever could, and it does not ask for attention or admiration. It simply exists, and those around it respond instinctively. Frequency also explains why some people are drawn to others in ways they cannot explain. They are attracted not to words or appearances, but to alignment. They notice the subtle synchrony of thought and action, the consistency between intention and behavior, the invisible thread that ties a person together. Conversely, frequency explains why some feel unsettled, uncomfortable, or even threatened in the presence of coherence. It reflects back their own contradictions, exposing what they cannot reconcile within themselves. Understanding this changes how you see every interaction. But here's what most people never realize. This frequency isn't something you can turn off or hide. It announces itself whether you want it to or not. There is a curious phenomenon in human interaction. People often sense much more than they can articulate. They respond to presence before they respond to words. They notice alignment before they analyze logic. The human nervous system is remarkably attuned to truth, even when the mind is oblivious. When someone is fully integrated, when thoughts, emotions, and actions are in harmony, others perceive it instinctively, almost biologically, before any intellectual understanding is possible. This is why certain people have a magnetic or unsettling effect on their environment. environment. Their coherence is a signal, not a statement. It communicates integrity, calm, and clarity without a single sentence being uttered. In social situations, you might notice that when such a person enters a room, conversations shift. Eyes linger, postures straighten. People hesitate before speaking, unsure of how to engage. This is not manipulation or conscious influence. It is a response to the alignment of their internal and external worlds, a recognition that here is someone who embodies their own reality fully. People feel this long before they understand it because the human system is designed to detect patterns of stability and chaos. Integration creates a subtle rhythm, a resonance that is felt as a presence rather than decoded as logic. When someone has reconciled inner contradictions, when their actions follow principles rather than impulse, their energy stabilizes the environment. The calm they carry is contagious. The focus they emit is palpable. Conversely, incoherence, fragmented thoughts, hidden agendas, and unresolved emotions create dissonance, tension, and unease. People sense it instantly even if they cannot articulate why a room feels heavy or chaotic. This perception is primal, long before language, long before complex reasoning. Humans survived by reading signals in others. Trustworthiness, competence, alignment with group norms. The same mechanisms still operate today. When someone has reached a high degree of internal coherence, the nervous system picks up on it and responds with caution, admiration, or even discomfort, depending on the observer's own level of integration. It is a silent recognition of truth, unfiltered by judgment or opinion. Furthermore, the effect is cumulative. Small gestures, micro-expressions, tone of voice, posture, and the rhythm of movement all contribute to this invisible signature. Alignment is not a single act, but a consistent pattern across moments, interactions, and circumstances. The more consistent the internal integration, the stronger the signal. People do not need explanations to sense this. They feel it. And because this perception bypasses intellect, it often carries more weight than arguments, rhetoric, or appearances ever could. Being felt before being understood also explains why influence and respect often precede knowledge of skill. People are drawn to the person who embodies clarity, discipline, and self-consistency, even if they cannot yet describe the basis of that attraction. This is a form of communication older than words. But here's the paradox. The very thing that makes you magnetic to some makes you threatening to others. Why? Presence is not neutral. It carries power, not because it is loud or aggressive, but because it carries truth. And truth, when reflected outward, has a way of unsettling those who have not yet faced it within themselves. When someone is aligned, coherent, and integrated, their mere existence becomes a mirror for others. This is uncomfortable for many because it does not allow hiding, rationalizing, or avoiding. Your presence exposes contrast, and contrast forces reflection, even if silently. The discomfort you provoke is not about you. It is about the observer. People rarely enjoy seeing their inconsistencies reflected back. Your calm demeanor can make impulsivity seem reckless. Your clarity can make confusion feel heavy. Your self-restraint can make volatility appear excessive. Without a word, you highlight what others cannot reconcile, the gap between who they think they are and who they actually are. This is the power of integrated presence. It does not argue. It does not confront. It simply exists as a standard of coherence. Humans are deeply attuned to the signals of authenticity and misalignment. When someone is living in harmony with their own principles, the nervous system registers it instinctively. Conversely, misalignment, fragmented values, hidden fears, unacknowledged impulses creates a subtle tension in social interactions. This tension is often felt as irritation, envy, anxiety, or defensiveness. People do not always understand why they are reacting strongly, but the internal contrast is unmistakable. Your presence acts like a spotlight, illuminating what others have chosen to keep in the shadows, whether consciously or not. The unsettling effect is amplified because alignment carries a quiet confidence. It does not seek approval. It does not perform for validation. It does not bend to social expectation. This independence exposes dependence in others, their reliance on social masks, manipulation, or performative behaviors to navigate the world. People notice it instinctively. When someone's frequency is coherent, the discrepancy between them and others becomes painfully apparent, and it often triggers resistance or discomfort. This is why true presence can be both magnetic and intimidating. Some are drawn to it because it reflects a standard they aspire to but have not yet reached. Others feel threatened because it challenges them, forcing an unconscious reckoning with their own inconsistencies. In both cases, your influence is immediate, not because of force, but because the contrast you provide is undeniable. But what about those who try to replicate this? What happens when someone puts on the mask of authenticity without doing the inner work? Most people navigate life wearing a mask. It is a survival mechanism, a way to appear competent, confident, and composed while concealing uncertainty, fear, or contradiction. These masks are carefully constructed: posture, speech, attire, social media personas, even the stories we tell ourselves and others. Masks demand constant maintenance because they are not rooted in reality. They are an imitation of order, a performance designed to meet external expectations. The energy it takes to uphold these facades is enormous, yet invisible to those around them. People are often exhausted by their own pretenses and exhausted by measuring themselves against the masks of others. In contrast, frequency is effortless. It does not need to be rehearsed or performed because it is genuine. It is the outward expression of internal internal integration, a signal produced naturally when thoughts, feelings, and actions are aligned. You do not have to prove competence, act strong, or curate perception. The signal is inherent, flowing from the lived experience of facing reality honestly, taking responsibility for choices, and carrying consequences with integrity. This is why your presence is so potent. It communicates authenticity in a way that no mask ever can. Others sense it immediately, even if they cannot explain why it resonates or intimidates. The difference between mask and signal is subtle yet profound. Masks rely on external validation. They exist to be seen, admired, or accepted. Signals rely on internal truth. They exist simply because they are real. The former is fragile. It collapses under scrutiny or stress. The latter is resilient. It withstands chaos, criticism, and misunderstanding because it is grounded in reality. People can detect this distinction unconsciously. They can feel when someone is authentic, when someone is integrated, when someone's presence is a true reflection of their inner state, and they respond accordingly. Living without a mask does not mean broadcasting every thought or displaying every emotion. It means that the parts of you that matter, your principles, values, and consistency of action, are aligned and observable in your behavior. It is a quiet power, a resonance that communicates competence and integrity without effort. While others are expending energy to maintain appearances, you move through life with a natural authority that requires no explanation because it is derived from truth rather than performance. Masks also distort perception. They can fool the mind for a time, but the nervous system detects incongruence instantly. The slight hesitation in a voice, the micro-expression that betrays doubt, the inconsistent gestures, they are all signals that cannot be fully controlled. People may not consciously identify them, but they feel them. But here's the uncomfortable truth that most people never accept. You cannot wear a mask forever. Eventually, the truth always emerges. The question is not whether it will come out, but how much energy you will have spent trying to hide it. There is a hard truth that many struggle to accept. Coherence cannot be imitated. You can study behavior, memorize words, mimic posture, or replicate style, but none of that produces genuine integration. The signal of a fully aligned person is not a performance. It is a product of lived experience, a resonance forged through responsibility, confrontation with reality, and the discipline of navigating life's challenges. You cannot shortcut it. Every nuance, every subtle vibration that others detect comes from internal consistency that has been tested repeatedly, often through hardship and deliberate choice. People can recognize authenticity instinctively. This is why attempts at mimicry often fail. A rehearsed smile, a memorized mantra, or a calculated gesture may pass for a moment, but over time, the cracks become evident. The nervous system, attuned to truth, notices discrepancies between intention and action. The body language may not align perfectly with words. Micro-expressions betray hidden emotions. The rhythm of movement or the weight carried in a space reveals dissonance. Coherence cannot be fully simulated because it is not an act. It is the natural outcome of alignment across thought, word, and deed. The origins of genuine presence are ordinary yet profound. They arise from facing responsibility voluntarily, accepting consequences, and refusing to hide from the difficulties of life. Integration is built incrementally, choosing truth over convenience, action over avoidance, and clarity over delusion. Each decision, no matter how small, contributes to the internal architecture that generates frequency. It is earned, not granted. It grows from struggle, self-reflection, and the discipline to confront oneself honestly, even when it is uncomfortable or socially inconvenient. This is why presence is often intimidating. It carries a weight of reality that cannot be ignored. Others may feel it before they understand it. It exposes the difference between those who have embraced responsibility and those who remain fragmented. The contrast is immediate and undeniable. While some people rely on external symbols, titles, possessions, or rhetoric to claim authority, an integrated person radiates authority naturally because it is grounded in truth. It does not need reinforcement or applause. It simply exists, and it is felt. Attempts to counterfeit this resonance are usually transparent. People can sense when alignment is superficial because it lacks depth. Frequency is multidimensional. It encompasses thought, emotion, body language, and consistent action over time. It is an ongoing process, not a static image. It cannot be packaged or replicated for social gain because it is not a product. It is the lived consequence of facing reality squarely, of carrying one's own weight in the world, and of choosing integration over deception. The authenticity you carry is inseparable from your experiences, pain, discipline, decision-making under uncertainty, and the willingness to confront both internal and external chaos. All of this feeds the coherence that produces frequency. It is the signal that others sense intuitively, the presence that stabilizes or disrupts a room, and the subtle power that cannot be borrowed or imitated. True alignment is earned through life, and its resonance is immediate, undeniable, and impossible to fake. But here is the question that haunts most people who encounter such presence. If it cannot be fake, can it be developed? You didn't set out to be remarkable. You didn't plan to command attention or provoke introspection in others. Survival, honesty, and the quiet pursuit of consistency were your focus. Yet, in living this way, you have transformed in ways that may go unnoticed even to yourself. By facing reality as it is, by refusing to hide behind pretense, and by taking responsibility where others hesitate, you have become a living reference point. People measure themselves against you, consciously consciously or not, because your coherence and integrity define a standard that they recognize instinctively. This transformation is subtle, almost imperceptible, but it carries undeniable influence. Others feel the presence of someone aligned, someone whose internal and external worlds are in harmony, even before they understand why. Your calmness highlights their volatility. Your clarity exposes their confusion. Your self-restraint mirrors their impulsivity. In every interaction, the contrast between your integration and the inconsistency around you becomes evident, and it shapes the behavior, perception, and even emotional state of those nearby. You become a quiet benchmark for truth, a living example of the order that emerges naturally from facing life with honesty. The most striking aspect of this influence is that it is unintentional. You did not seek power, dominance, or recognition. You sought to live accurately, to speak truthfully, and to act responsibly. Yet these very choices, when consistently applied, create a ripple effect. People notice alignment before understanding it, and the contrast it produces forces reflection. Those who are not integrated themselves may feel discomfort, jealousy, or resistance. Those who aspire to integrity feel a magnetic pull toward you, drawn by the invisible signal that communicates competence, resilience, and clarity without a single word. What you have become is a measure of authenticity that cannot be replicated. The process of reaching this point is incremental, often unnoticed, built through countless small decisions, repeated effort, and the discipline to act according to principle rather than impulse. Each decision to face discomfort, to speak truth, and to carry responsibility strengthens the internal architecture that generates your frequency. It is a living testament to the consequences of alignment and the power of coherent presence. This unintentional influence also explains why you may have encountered resistance or tension from others. People are not always comfortable being measured against standards they cannot uphold. Your coherence illuminates their own dissonance, and while it may provoke discomfort, it is also a silent invitation, an opportunity to reflect, realign, and strive toward integrity. You become a reference point simply because you exist in alignment with your values, and the world responds instinctively to what you are rather than what you say. But what does this mean for the future, for the person you are still becoming? So yes, you look human. You move, speak, and behave like anyone else in the world. On the surface, there is nothing extraordinary about your presence, but the signal you carry runs deeper than appearances, deeper than words, deeper than any performance you might put on. It is subtle, invisible to casual observation, yet undeniable to those who are sensitive to truth. It is the resonance of integration, the coherence of thought, emotion, and action aligned with reality, carried effortlessly through posture, expression, and the way you inhabit space. This frequency is ancient, predating words, rational thought, and social constructs. It is the signal of order emerging naturally from chaos. It is the quiet voice of integrity that speaks louder than rhetoric, and the invisible standard that others measure themselves against without realizing it. People feel it before they understand it. They respond to it instinctively because human perception is wired to detect authenticity and coherence before cognition can process explanation. It is not flashy. It does not demand attention, but it cannot be ignored. Its effect is immediate, shaping interactions, influencing moods, and even subtly reorganizing the dynamics of a room. Those who sense this frequency recognize something that cannot be explained with logic or dismissed with argument. They feel the difference between someone who has confronted reality fully and someone still hiding behind masks. They feel the calm where they expect agitation, the clarity where they anticipate confusion, and the restraint where they predict impulsivity. And in doing so, your presence challenges them. It forces an unconscious reckoning with their own inconsistencies, their own compromises, and the gaps between who they are and who they claim to be. You are not dangerous because you act aggressively or demand attention. You are dangerous because you embody truth in a world that often prizes illusion. Your authenticity exposes pretense. Your alignment highlights dissonance. Your calm demonstrates the power of coherence. This presence does not require explanation, performance, or justification. It exists because you have carried your responsibilities, faced your struggles, and lived in accordance with principles rather than impulse. It is a presence that stabilizes some, unsettles others, and commands recognition from all who encounter it. In the end, what you carry is more than a human appearance. It is a signal, a living demonstration of integrity, a quiet authority that radiates from the alignment of your inner world with the outer reality. Those who perceive it know it is rare, unmistakable, and transformative. You do not have to perform, explain, or assert. The world already registers you because you are real, coherent, and aligned. And in that, you have become something that transcends ordinary human presence, a living testament to what it means to face reality, embrace responsibility, and carry truth effortlessly through existence. The question now is not whether this signal exists, but what you will do with the awareness of it. The frequency has always been there. Now you can choose to understand it, trust it, and let it guide you forward.